Hello everyone, I am speaking to you from London today. Do you know how much it costs to rent an apartment in the middle of London? Well, I don't know how much it costs exactly, but I do know that it costs an arm and a leg. I can tell you that. But today, I am in a beautiful Victorian apartment in the middle of London. I am here for a week, as a matter of fact, for exactly £0. So what does this has to do with Jehovah's Witnesses, you might ask? Well, the reason I'm here in a beautiful apartment in the middle of London for free, it's because a friend of mine lent me this apartment. And that had to recall some memories to me when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. For one thing, if you're not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you've got to know that Jehovah's Witnesses, for the most part, they truly believe that they are the most generous and hospitable people on the planet. The problem is that it's not necessarily the truth at all. As a matter of fact, Jehovah's Witnesses are like just anyone else, any other group in this world. Some people are generous and hospitable, while some are not. Some are really downright greedy, even. And I personally met about 5 Jehovah's Witnesses that were truly generous and hospitable. But besides that, the rest of them, they were average greedy, I would say. And another problem that I noticed when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, it's that the Watchtower, the governing body, the leaders of Jehovah's Witnesses, does not teach generosity, except when it's for giving money to them. But besides that, the teaching, the deep down teaching, is not on generosity. It's the other way around. It's more about greed. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean. Well, I'm not going to take credit for what I'm about to tell you right now. But I happen to have been raised by the most generous and hospitable person I personally know, better known as my mother. My mother was extremely, extremely generous. And if you could ask anyone she'd ever met, they would tell you that. So that is why I have no problem saying when I'm talking about my mother that she was the most generous and hospitable person I have ever met. So that is probably why I am a rather generous and hospitable people. And you could also interview some people that actually even took advantage of me a long time ago because of that. Because I had that trait of my mother. But it's a good thing, you know. Because one thing that the Watchtower will never teach you is anything that has to do with the law of attraction, which is one of the laws of the universe. And the more greedy you are, the more lack you attract into your life. While the more generous you are, the more generosity and good stuff you attract into your life. Look at this. I am in a Victorian apartment in the middle of London. I can walk to Buckingham Palace. It's about 10 minutes, 12 minutes walk for free. So if you don't believe what I'm saying, you know, you may start to. You may want to start to. So, this said, as I was just saying a few minutes ago, the Watchtower does not teach its members, does not teach Jehovah's Witnesses generosity. They teach greed. And this is how. I remember so well the meetings, the kingdom ministry meetings, they used to call them. Mine, especially the one that I remember, were on Wednesday evenings. And I remember all too well how we had full talks telling us how we should charge brothers and sisters just to have them in our cars to go around the neighborhood in service, in the field service, or even to take them from their house to some assembly halls. I remember that very well. So those talks were teaching us to be greedy, to ask for money basically, or to give money as if we had to pay our spiritual brothers and sisters just to be in a car. Well, pretty much like you pay what? A taxi, right? Or a bus. You know, a service that it's in a business, in the business of carrying you around on wheels. And that's what we were taught as Jehovah's Witnesses in kingdom halls. And guess what? That personally annoyed me to no end. And that is why I took the time to tell you that I was raised by a very generous mother, and therefore I am a rather generous person. Not to brag, but so you would understand how someone like me would be so annoyed by the fact that I did not want to ask brothers and sisters for money to carrying them around where I had my own butt sitting in the car. So anyhow, it did not cost me any more or any less to have them in the car or not to have them in the car. So it really annoyed me. And good gracious, I remember how it annoyed my mother. We had many, many discussions between her and I about this. Almost every time we had one of those stupid talks encouraging us to either ask for money or give money for such as if we were paying a service to carrying us around, instead of teaching us to be more generous. So the point of the matter is that if you are a greedy person, being a Jehovah's Witness won't make you more generous at all. If anything, if you are a generous person, this organization is trying to make you greedy. And they do it in a very interesting way. I think that the reason why they encourage you to give money to brothers and sisters as if you were paying a cab just because you happen to be in their car while going in the field service is because they want to encourage you to give them money. But they don't understand that by giving this type of talks, it really encourages greed. It does not encourage generosity. And that is why when this type of talks fall into the ears of people that are rather generous, that are not sick about asking for money every 5 minutes to people every time they lift a little finger, that is why it's very annoying to those people like me and my mother, and I'm sure plenty other Jehovah's Witnesses. Because we understand that this type teaching does not teach generosity. And because it doesn't, that's why it bothers the soul of the person that happens to have a generous soul. And that, my dear Jehovah's Witnesses friends, you need to understand that. So anyhow, that is my thought for the day. That is the thought I had by enjoying and being gracious and grateful for the wonderful generosity of some very, very kind human beings that happen to be no Jehovah's Witnesses, but people that happen to be generous because in one way or another they've learned generosity, and they've learned that the more generous you are, the more you receive in return. And that's another law of the universe called the cause and effect. So you might want to learn about those things, Jehovah's Witnesses, because I know that you're not learning them in your religion, that's for sure. So anyhow, this was my thought. I hope you liked the video. If you did like it, share it, comment, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye-bye now.